This mutation is called Overclocked and is played on Malwarfare. We have 3 mutators active. We have Photon Overload, Avenger, and Speed Freaks. So let us have a look at the masteries while the players get set up. Swann, 30 points into the Combat Drone Mastery, 30 points in Structure Health, and 30 points into the Vespine Drone Cost Mastery, with Swann playing the Payload Director Prestige. This is P3 Swann, which is an interesting choice here for Swann. Han Horner, 30 points into the Stronger Death Chance Mastery, 30 points into Double Salvage, and 30 points into the Magmine Mastery. I'm pretty sure he's trolling right there, because the Stronger Death Chance Mastery is bugged. For those of you who are unaware, Blizzard has left the game in a broken state, and this mastery actually does not do anything. It's broken, so it has no effect on gameplay. So I'm pretty sure Han Horner is trolling. I'm almost sure about it. So Wing Commanders is the prestige that is selected here. Han Horner is going to be using Horner's units more than Han's units. So this mutation in general, not too difficult if you are aware of what's going on the map, and if you are careful to how the attack waves are, if you're careful to paying attention to how the attack waves are moving. One of the things I think that a lot of players may struggle with is when you have heavy damage compositions, so say compositions like Immortals and Reavers, that stuff that move towards Orana, you need to be able to engage them with your army very, very quickly, otherwise Orana will melt and explode into tiny little bits. So as long as you're paying attention to the minimap, seeing where the enemy waves are moving, I think it should not be too difficult. One of the things that is a little bit of an annoyance is the Photon Overload, so whenever you attack an enemy structure, they will get the Photon Overload buff, and that one will cause them to be able to start attacking your forces, so that may be a little bit difficult to deal with, a little bit annoying to deal with, but should not be too difficult to handle. So this is going to be an interesting game, and Caligon, as most people who visit this channel will be well aware of, he is a mutation memer. He does like to meme on various weekly mutations, so we'll see what comes up here, what plan these two guys have in mind for memeing on this mutation. So we have also an early command center being built here for Swann, which is really good, and over here there's one assault galleon just bullying some of this poor roach, unable to do anything, moving back and forth. And now the Zergling also ends up dying to that, but really good. Notice how he did not use the assault galleon to start attacking the spine crawler or the evolution chamber, because once he starts attacking that, it will get that Photon Overload buff, and actually these assault galleons can outrange the Photon Overload, but if you're gonna have your army moving in right now, you kind of don't want to have this thing just shooting at your army all the time, so it's best to leave that unpoked if you do not intend on poking it with an even larger stick. So we're waiting for the first attack wave to spawn right now. On Horner, just slowly macroing up, building up their economy, making sure everything is good. And over here, Swann has already completed their command center, and they are ready to go. So there was an attempt at a pullback over here. Unfortunately, that did not work too well. There's also another pullback here, but the SCV is now getting bullied over here. So yeah, so this Assault Galleon, as I was saying, you can see here, is able to actually outrange the Photon Overload. So that one Hellion did not really need to go down, but there is the first attack wave coming up, and the first attack wave is going to have Zerglings. The enemy composition is Devouring Scourge, so this is primarily an air composition, which would be kind of interesting as well. Air comps are a little bit more difficult to deal with in general in pretty much any game, but especially when you have a lot of Scourge on your attack waves, that's kind of a problem when you're playing Han Horner, because your air units tend to get blasted out of the sky very, very quickly. But you can see here Swann already starting to put down some defensive turrets. He's going to be using some Flaming Betties, which are absolutely amazing against Zerg compositions, especially in the early game when you have a large number of Zerglings. These Flaming Betties just absolutely melt your attack waves, and everything is good here. Now this command center is moving a little bit closer, but I think the Photon Overcharge will start to aggro the combat drop here, so that should be a little bit better for Swann. And over here, the laser drill now is just going to start coming up online. Remember that Swann has not gone for the drill upgrade cost mastery, and this also reduces the drill spawn. I think it reduces the drill spawn time at least by a little bit. So this combat drop should be fine right now, and it'll start to poke in over here, and over here Orana is just starting to purify these terminals. And because Swann has built their command center a little bit early, they are able to at least have some kind of economy at the start. Okay, yeah, there's a worker transfer. That's the worker transfer I was thinking of, and there we go. So one thing to note whenever you are doing whenever you are actually going to go for an expansion, if you are trying to go for a more efficient play, make sure that you do not have like full saturation on your mineral line. It's always better to transfer some workers over, and you can see here he's already sending at about 11 workers on this expansion side. So that is, you know, just trying to utilize the way mining works a little bit better, a little bit more efficiently. And if you are interested, there is a video on this channel about mining rates and how you can actually optimize your mining efficiency when it comes to mineral patches. There is a whole thing to actually learn about that. But this combat drop actually has gotten a lot of value. There's another Zerg attack wave, but I think this one spine crawler is going to end up going down. And now all that is left here are a few more Zerglings, but again, a bunch of Hellbats. These Hellbats will be able to hold pretty well against these Zerglings temporarily. There's one more Magmine, and the Magmine does actually get triggered by here. There's a little bit of fear as well. The fear is actually kind of interfering with the Magmine being able to actually hit its target, but there's another attack wave coming up right now. These Flaming Bandits are not going to be ready before the attack wave is able to jump back on top of them, but the Hellbats have come in to try and save the day. And again, there's a little bit of a detonation here, everything ending up getting feared, and you can see what's happening over here. That because of the fear, these Magmines are detonating when they're not supposed to be triggered, and that actually causes them to end up missing a lot of their targets. But overall, what is that creep? Wow. That creep tumor. Okay, so what's happened over there is there was a detonation from a Hellbat, I think, and that detonation from the Hellbat has damaged the creep tumor, and because the creep tumor is considered a structure, the creep tumor was attacking the command center, but he doesn't have detection to actually take it out. That is actually hilarious. Okay, there you go, the more you know. This is actually one of the main reasons why Zerg compositions are a little bit more difficult to deal with. There are like certain mutators which require Amon's vision. The one I can think of is laser drill. So the creep tumors also provide vision to the laser drill, so your army can get attacked, and if you don't have detection, you kind of end up being in a really bad spot here. The Han Horner slowly going to go and build up their refineries as well, trying to increase their gas income. And right now, Orana is just getting wailed on by the suppression tower, which is temporarily okay, but at some point they will need to be able to deal with it. But remember that Han Horner has a one-shot available for the suppression tower, so if they use their space station reallocation, that will one-shot the suppression tower. It only one-shots the first suppression tower because it just has just enough HP to die, so it'll be a little bit of time before that happens. So I think what they're trying to do here is just try and stall, try and build up the rest of the army. You can see here we have a few science vessels being utilized. Why are there science vessels being used? What is going on? What are the plans that Swann has for this game? Now they'll be able to start moving in. I think they are ready right now, and Suppression Tower will be able to hit these galleons. Oh no, actually very nice dodge here on the galleons. But remember, the Suppression Towers also do get the Photon overcharge upgrade because they are indeed structures, so it'll be a little bit of time before these Hellbats are actually being able to deal with this. So laser drill being utilized right now, shot right through the middle of this enemy base, just slowly starting to weaken some of these enemy forces, and by the time that they will be pushing into this enemy base, hopefully their expectation is that there won't really be very many enemy units that need to be dealt with. So they're just going to try and simplify the end. They're just going to try and simplify the end of the game. And you know what? It's not really too bad of an idea because there is no real good shots for the laser drill. There are no real massive attack waves where you can use the laser drill and you get a lot of value for it. So you might as well use this laser drill to try and deal damage to enemy forces and weaken the enemy bases, which is what they're doing over here. These two assault galleons now are meandering around a little bit further, and now they have their drone hangar upgrade as well. So lots of Hellbats here. We have one Raven. Now they can detect the creep tumors that are attacking them with Photon overcharge, and now these science vessels are going to start healing at least some of these Hellbats. And we also have a few Vikings that are being added to the mix here. So one interesting thing to note is like all these things, Nikora. One thing to note is like each one of these guys have like a unique name. The names are randomly generated, I think, so it's a really cool little thing that you can have here. But these I think only apply to Horner's units, so that's something you can try and see for yourself. There are a few names, some few interesting names there, but Horner is going to start pushing through right now with his army, and nothing really too difficult. We have a few Hellbats from Swann as well, and the science vessel has an irradiate on it. What is the plan here? You shall see. So Irradiate's going down right now, and this is going to be at least some of the small plans of these commanders. Unfortunately, these magmines, like it takes a while for these magmines to arm, so it will be like a lot of these magmines will end up going down before they will be triggered, be able to like actually start dealing damage through this. But we have now a column the fleet being used. And this column the fleet will actually weaken a lot of the enemy forces in this area. Once these enemy forces have been softened up, then the rest of these commanders will start to push in. But unfortunately, you see, you have like things like this Broodlord getting like fed by the Avenger buff, but actually in this case worked out pretty well for the commanders because it actually killed off the Broodlord before it ended up despawning. But there is a hybrid over there, and that hybrid will probably have something like around 2000 HP. But Vikings have been landed right now just to provide a little bit more pierce and a little bit more damage output for the ground forces over here, and they will be able to take out this enemy structure over here. Now there's one very mad hybrid and a very fat aberration as well here that needs to be dealt with. So 1300 HP on this hybrid, and this hybrid gone up to 1600 HP right now. Another aberration also starting to attack, and this aberration being yeah, the hybrid does end up going down. Aberration will also get killed off by these enemy forces, and now all that is left is to just clean up the rest of these things over here. And now there's an attack wave coming up, and in this attack wave we have lots of irradiates being casted from these science vessels here. It's gonna be a while because what's gonna happen is like you're gonna kill off like a unit, and it's gonna give Avenger stacks to like the rest of the units around it, and this unit will gain more HP, and it's going to make it even more difficult to kill the units off with the irradiate. But you can see here what's happening. Lots of irradiates are being casted on top of these science vessels. Now, unfortunately, this is an air comp, so the air comp will be able to deal damage to these science vessels. But it was actually a very interesting strategy from what I understand in Brood War. I have never played Starcraft 1, so someone in the comments will be able to tell me. But there was something called like it was the Hercules Eraser or something. You would irradiate your SCVs, and because your SCVs were your own, you could not like, they would not deal damage. So you took your SCVs, you irradiated them, and you put them in a Hercules, and then you moved to your enemy's mineral line, and you moved the Hercules over the mineral line. And because the irradiate buff does not disappear, you have like 8 irradiate amounts of damage being dealt per tick on like your opponent's mineral line, and you basically just deleted their mineral line instantly. There was an interesting strategy like that. I can't remember exactly what it was called, but someone in the comments will be able to let me know about it. But Irradiate is very fun if you're able to utilize it correctly. Unfortunately, a lot of Amon's forces, they are spellcasters, and the AI is really good, and it will try and like reduce the amount of damage it takes to irradiate, but you can only avoid so much. So you have another attack wave coming up right now. Bonus objective is being utilized here, or at least you're planning to go for the bonus objective here. Lots of science vessels are already parked over here. More radiates being used. Over here, the next suppression tower has also spawned, so Honhona will have to try and deal with that. He does have a good number of Vikings here, so he will be able to deal with this. A very nice positioning of Magmines over here. This will take out this one harass wave, and now the attack waves have started to spawn. The bonus objective has been triggered, and over here the 2 Hellbats are probably not going to be able to hold, but everything else just gets deleted by the large number of Hellbats with their, what's it called, the Infernal Pre-Igniter upgrade. I keep forgetting what that upgrade is called, but it does a lot of damage, and these Zerglings stand really no chance against the army of Hellbats over here. This bonus objective is pretty much going to get collected, and surprisingly, Orana only losing about 35 HP during that whole engagement, which is really good. Hanhor now will start to push in and start to clear the rest of these enemy forces in this enemy camp, and that is that objective done and cleared. So one thing to also note is the usage of the landed Vikings here. So yeah, they're dealing with an air composition, but when they're pushing into enemy bases, there are ground units that need to be dealt with. They have the Hellbats on the front line to try and tank against these large hybrids, but the Vikings at the back, like, they do a lot of damage also when they are landed. And he also has the upgrade, I can't remember what that upgrade is called? It's called the Shredder Rounds upgrade. That's the upgrade that gives them the Pierce. And the one thing to note about the Pierce is that if there is an enemy unit that gets closer to the Viking, its attack will not actually be stopped by that unit and is able to deal damage to units in a straight line. So especially like when you have things like Zerglings and stuff that like to get a wrap around your army, like this Pierce damage is actually very, very useful for dealing damage to Amon's forces. Lots of Hellbats here. Lots of side vessels over here as well. So I'm gonna try and see Swann taking an engagement right now. Okay, so we have a lot of these Hellbats right now. And these Hellbats are actually filled. Okay, there we go. This is exactly what I was talking about. Take a look at how these enemy forces are dying. There are irradiated Hellbats inside these Hercules. And they're just dealing so much damage to everything here. And there'll be an attack wave here. I'm not sure if Swann is gonna try and do this again, but it's gonna be a while. But no, we have a lot of Magmines over here, so it's probably this tank wave is gonna be dealt with Magmines. But yeah, you can do a lot of weird shenaniganry if you are aware of little quirks in the game here. So the science vessels are now ready, and we'll see how he's going to try and engage this again. I think he's probably going to wait until the next set of attack waves before he does that. But lots of science vessels on the way. What do we have in production? More science vessels, more Hellbats. He's going for the armor and the attack upgrade. So the reason why he's going for the armor upgrades here is just needs to provide a little bit more tankiness for his units, because these units are going to be right in the middle of the fray. So lots of Irradiate being utilized here to try and kill off this Corruptor, but this Corruptor has regeneration, and it's healing because it has like the Avenger buffs. So these things are like really, really tanky. Avenger is a very unfortunate mutator to have when you're trying to do this kind of strategy. Lots of Irradiates coming down as well from these Science Vessels. And yeah, I think the main limitation right now is the amount of energy the Science Vessels have. But Swann is able to push through. The attack wave will spawn on this side and will get cleared out as well. So there's the attack wave. The attack wave is just instantly deleted right now. You can see the Avenger buff getting passed on to one of the Guardians that had spawned, and that Guardian still gets instantly deleted by these Magmines. So Swann is ready. Irradiates one of this random Overseer. Okay. Let's see this engagement. Is he gonna go and do it? No, he's just casting Irradiates individually on all of Amon's forces here, one by one. And eventually this aberration will also end up going down. The Hydralisks will also end up dying, I think, if they do not keep getting Avenger buffs right now. Like that is that. And now someone's in the pickle. Now we have the next attack wave. Now we have Strike Fires also added to the mix here. One very upset Hybrid Dominator. First Suppression Tower has spawned, and the Suppression Tower will get cleared out by Han and Horner, while Swann just goes and irradiates the Hybrid. Because that is what you do when you see a Hybrid, you irradiate the Hybrid. With a little bit more of the attack wave coming up over here now that needs to be dealt with. What do we have? Okay, so Han Horner is going to try and engage us with his army, which is fine, and that area will get cleared out. Unfortunately, the air units are being a little bit annoying. Yeah, there is just an issue here. Just irradiate buffs everywhere. Eventually this will get cleared out. There'll be another suppression tower spawning in just a little bit. And what do we have here? Another attack wave coming up. Where are the Irradiates? Let's see the army of Irradiates coming up. These Devourers now are pretty nasty, because the Devourers are actually meant to deal damage to like armored units here. But oh my god, the amount of Irradiates are casted. It's the Avenger buff that's causing a problem for Swann. It's because every single time something dies to an Irradiate, it just gets more, the stuff around it just gets more HP. You can see over here, this Guardian is like, it's just been able to tank for like so long. But, you know, very valiant attempt here, and the Hellbats will be jumping in here, and they will be able to clear out the rest of these enemy forces. But most of these enemy forces are flying. So again, these Vikings will probably have to try and fly if they want to deal at least a little bit of damage, and there we go. The Vikings are going to end up flying, and they will end up killing off these Guardians. And you can see, hey, like these Guardians are actually like pretty tanky, like 300 HP Guardians, and you know, they have a lot of armor. Oh, there's a lot of Scourge over there. That is a lot of Scourge. 2 Hercules end up going down. Lots of Irradiates being casted over here, and now just Swann's army is trying to mingle with Amon's army and kill off the Mulisks. But eventually that's going to happen, and there we go. This is so sad. It's like, this would have been a wonderful strategy if Avenger was not a factor. There's like there's a hint of brilliance in this strategy. It's just Avenger is just completely hard capturing the Irradiate buffs. Okay, so we have more strike fires being utilized here just to try and deal a little bit more damage. This hybrid has a lot of HP. That's like 4,000 HP. More strike fires being utilized. Another engagement of the attack wave over here. Are there going to be more radiates? I think there should be radiates. Yeah, there we go. Some more radiates on these science vessels. And these science vessels will take, maybe a few years to take out this guardian. They're doing their best. And finally, these guardians do go down after Han Honor is done with, waiting for the science vessel to deal 1 damage per second on the guardians. And now they're going to go for this bonus objective here, which is okay because they're actually really, really far ahead. Most of the space has already been cleared out, so they can as well just go ahead and just deal some more damage to this. What I would like to know is what has dealt more damage. Has the laser drill dealt more damage, or has the irradiate damage dealt more damage? I'm just ragging on Encalagon, but it's like it's actually kind of fun to watch this strategy because it's like one misplay and just everything can go from like bad to just completely terrible. And the Han Honor is just basically hung out to dry. So I know that's not going to happen this game, but some very interesting use also of the defensive matrix here. These defensive matrices or matrices are pretty useful when it comes to trying to tank Scourge and whatnot. Especially when you're dealing with like baneling attack waves, what you can do is you can cast a defensive matrix on your Hellbats. So if you're ever stuck and you're ever have a problem dealing with banelings and attack waves, cast like defensive matrix on your Hellbats and get them to tank. And one other option as well that you can do is, whenever you're engaging with attack waves, like see the unit that is being focus fired down by the attack wave, because the attack waves will try and focus fire certain units, and you can cast a defensive matrix on that and just keep that unit alive a little bit longer. Lots of irradiates being casted right now, and Swann does not have faith in his irradiate himself. This Guardian has 300 HP right now, and some more mag mines as well. Irradiates are trying their best. Lots of Scourge coming up right now, and the Scourge is going to start killing off some science vessels. Lots of carnage right now. These Mutalists are just very, very upset with Swann. They're like, how dare you irradiate me? Only Amon is allowed to irradiate your forces. And this Guardian now will end up going down as well. I think that was the last of the bonus objectives that need to be dealt with, I think. Or was that 2 out of 3? Okay, that was a 3 out of 3 bonus objective right now. So far, so good. Are they gonna push in? They know they want to push in. Pushing it would be fun right now. Yeah, as you can see, like most of these bases now are cleared, so this is basically an easy suppression tower to deal with. Unfortunately, the Zerglings have hard countered Swann behind Horner and baited him into dropping a strike fire when there was nothing there. But Horner does end up using the call in the fleet right now. Again, there's a lot more Scourge coming up. Take your guesses on the amount of carnage that has been dealt here, because this is a complete slugfest. The first suppression tower has spawned right now, and these players will need to deal with it, but first you have to deal with these attack waves. So one thing to note when you are dealing with this mission is that the suppression towers, like, yeah, they need to be dealt with, but if there's an attack wave in the suppression tower, deal with the attack wave first. The attack wave deals so much more damage than the suppression towers do. Especially because the start, when the suppression towers first spawn, they don't actually have a high DPS. They ramp up over the course of time that they are up. So over here, Han Horner is just going to jump on the suppression tower and take that out. Attack wave is over here as well. 450 HP Guardian. 2 450 HP Guardians. And now these or Devourers, and now these Guardians now are going to start picking up some more Avenger stacks. And more Irradiates being used over here. Second suppression tower is up, and this one will actually come up with an attack wave over here. But I think this was a little bit of a miss, but there was a space station reallocation being utilized here, and you can see what happens. Like, space station reallocation cannot actually one-shot the suppression tower, but Swann's going all in with the irradiates. It's like, I gotta give him props. He's trying, and you can see here that there's an attack wave that's moved up here. So again, lots of defensive matrices being used here. I don't know if there were any Scourge here in that attack wave, but the whole intent here was just tank with these science vessels and making sure that they have irradiates available here. So now, one thing I actually now realized as well is the reason why Payload Director was selected was because the science vessels get tactical jump. So it allows you to get your science vessels right in the front of the enemy forces, so it gives you a little bit more mobility, which is why B3 Swann was utilized here. So, well played, sir, well played. So that is the last suppression tower gone, and I think there should be one more attack wave before the end of the mission, and that attack wave will be pretty much well handled. There's nothing else. Is Swann going to irradiate? He's not going to be able to be there in time. And Han Honer's going to try and jump in, and there's just lots of Mulisks. Lots of defensive matrices. No irradiates? Why are there no irradiates? Why, Swann, why? This was your chosen strategy. Okay, there are irradiates now being utilized, although 1 or 2 guardians are left over. Finally, the irradiates get cast here, and that is basically it. I wonder how many losses. Let's have a look at the losses. So, actually, surprisingly, not that much. 4 of the Vikings went down, but overall, pretty well handled. Orana is saved, Eternals have been purified, and that is GG.